Hi, my name is Jackie Liu, and this is my tutorial on how to build a rotor egg drop device. So, as you can see here, my partner and I have already made the mold for our wings. So what we do is we form a teardrop shape with one of the carbon rods, and we place pins all around it. So, as you can see, I'm taking my carbon rod and I am forming the wing shape and fitting it into the mold. Then my partner is taking the yellow string that she just cut and starting to tie it around the point where the two ends of the carbon rod meet. So when you form the teardrop shape, there will be some excess carbon rod sticking out, so it forms an X, and at that point where the two joints meet is where you're supposed to tie it. So as you can see, she is also wrapping the string around several different corners of the two ends of the carbon rod, for this allows for the wing to hold its shape and allows for it to be secure. So after she wraps around several times, she then ties it and then repeats this step for other different corners of this area of the wing. So when she is done tying it, she cuts the string, and then I proceed by taking the super glue and gluing the knot that she had just created. Once I finish with the super glue, we then take the wing out of the mold and we put it in a place to let the super glue dry, and that takes around 24 hours. So the next day, we can then start with applying the toothpick. So my partner is cutting the string, and I am taking the toothpick and placing the toothpick's midpoint on the knot that we had created the day before. My partner then begins to wrap the string around the midpoint and the knot. So it's very similar to what the procedure was when you were creating the carbon rod wing, only now you have several different places to tie and wrap it around, and you are also dealing with the toothpick. So for the toothpick, make sure to keep it level, because if it's tilted one way or another, it's going to be difficult to insert it into your disc. So as you can see, I'm holding it in order to keep the toothpick at parallel to the table, and my partner is tying several different knots in several different areas. So as you can see, the toothpick looks pretty secure by now, but we are still tying it around several corners and places where the toothpick and the carbon rod wing form angles, in order to make sure everything is secure for when you are dropping your device. We want to make sure that the wing is able to hold the impact. So when doing preliminary things, make sure to be extra careful to have everything secured in place. And towards the end, when you are finishing with your knot, make sure to tie the knot several times before you cut the string. So now, once my partner is finished tying the knot to the toothpick, I then take the super glue and I begin applying it to the knot that we just created to connect the toothpick to the carbon wing. So I'm not only applying it to the top, but to the sides and the bottom of the knot in order to make sure everything is secure and will be secure once the glue dries. So after 24 hours, we can then proceed with attaching the film. So in order to attach the film, we might have to trim off some places. So as you can see right here, I'm trimming off the excess toothpick that sticks into the area that the carbon rod encloses. And when you are inserting your wing into the disc, it might be difficult to have excess carbon rod protruding, so I am also trimming that as well. It can be a little difficult to trim the carbon rod, so when you are using your pliers, make sure to place the carbon rod near to the corner of, or the joint where the two parts of the plier meet in order to have a clean cut. Once I have finished cutting the carbon rods and the excess toothpick, I can then proceed with film attachment. So as you can see, I'm using my wing as sort of a guide to cut my square of film. You don't want to use the entire roll of film when we're attaching the wing to the film, so I am cutting a square similar to the size of the wing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's best to have one smooth side, so when you are applying it to your wing, it has a smooth cut near the toothpick. So once I've finished cutting the square, or it's more of a rectangle actually, I'm placing the film towards the table in order so when I place the wing down, the toothpick is able to jut out and not be attached to the film. Once I've finished with that, I then take my glue and I apply it to one side of the carbon wing. When you're doing this, because the wing has such a small surface area, make sure to apply it generously and do it in these sort of swiping motions that I'm doing right now. So by applying it generously, you can make sure that your wing is secured to the film. We're going to do other methods to apply and make sure everything's secure, but it's best to apply a lot of glue right now. So once I finished applying the glue, I can then begin to apply the wing to the film. So as you can see, I'm making sure to stretch out the film when I apply the wing, and I'm also making sure to leave the toothpick out of the film. That's why we place the film near the table, if you remember. So as you can see, I'm just pressing the wing to make sure everything's secure, and I'm also lifting the film off of the table just to make sure the wing follows. Now I'm taking my scissors and I'm beginning to cut the same teardrop shape of the wing, but leaving an excess 1 inch around it, for we're going to use this excess film to apply and attach the wing further to the film itself. As you can see, I didn't glue the wing to the film too well, so it left a little hole near the toothpick. So I'm just pulling the film down and also applying extra glue. So now that I finished cutting the teardrop shape, including the inch of excess film, I can then begin to apply this excess film to the carbon rod itself. So I'm taking my scissors and I'm cutting a slit into the extra film, and then taking my glue, I am applying it to both the carbon rod near the slit and to the slit itself. Then taking that piece of film, I am overlapping it over the carbon rod. And then I just repeat this step until I make it all the way around. And it's best towards the curves of the wing to cut smaller slits, so because smaller pieces of film are easier to work with. In addition, make sure when you are applying the pieces of film to make sure everything is smooth along the curves and parts of the wing, just to make sure that you have a very smooth wing, because that means better aerodynamics. So now that I've finished with my wing, I can then begin attaching it to my disc. So as you can see, I've already made a point at the center of the disc. It's a little bit difficult to actually estimate where the center is, but give it your best shot because it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. And now using my ruler, I'm beginning to try and divide the disc in half. So using my ruler, my Sharpie, and the center point, I am marking the half. I'm dividing the disc into half, and then I'm dividing it in half again to form quarters. Once I've finished with this, I am then taking my ruler and measuring the distance between 2 points of the 4, just to make sure all the distances are equal. If the distances aren't equal, then you have to remark them. And now taking my ruler, I am taking 2 points of the 4 and I am marking the midpoint between them. For this, by repeating this 4 times, you can then divide the disc into 8 equal sections. So as you can see, I am repeating this for every 2 points and the spaces in between, and I am also using my ruler to make sure that every section between the point and its midpoint are equal, so that when we insert the wing, they are equidistant from its wing on its right or left. So now that I've finished marking and dividing the disc into 8 equal sections, I am taking a Sharpie. You can't see it in the shot, I'm sorry, but I am taking a Sharpie and right under a point, I am marking the midpoint of the height of the disc, as you can see right there. And I am taking my wing and I am inserting it into that point that I had just marked. Make sure when you insert the wing in that it is level and that it is parallel to the disc. As you can see, my wing, when I inserted it in, was a little bit tilted downwards, but no worries, you can just take out the wing and reapply it. So once you have this inserted in, you can repeat this and this entire process for the amount of wings you want. I typically had 8 because I found that too many would just get everything caught up, or too less would leave gaps. But you can experiment and try new things. And also, as you can see, I am adjusting the angles. Experiment with different angles too, because it allows for different kinds of spin, and it's just interesting to experiment and see the results. So that is it. Just repeat this step and then you can create your own rotor egg drop device.